Welcome back to our restoration project. So today we're going to take on our rear quarter windows, and as you can see here, we're just mocked up. We don't have any glass in place. Let's go around to the other side and see what that one looks like. And then in this side here, we're also mocked up, so you can see we have no glass in place. So what I was doing here was basically getting everything fit and put into place and just seeing how it all works out with our rubber seals. And this rubber seal that we originally put in here a while back was a seal from Porsche, and at that time Porsche spec'd out a seal that would cover a few of these cars. However, the seal that we acquired didn't really work very well, so we aren't able to use it. But this one here is an aftermarket seal, and this plays a big role in how everything works here in our quarter windows and how they seal up. So we had to replace this. We'll talk about this a little bit more when we do our doors. But it looks like everything's going to fit fine. So what we're going to do, let's pull these windows out of here. I'm going to take them in the shop and break them down. And then at that time, we can go over how to put them together. We can take a look at some really pristine glass I recently acquired. It's going to save the day on this project. And then we'll bring them back out here and reinstall them so you have a pretty good idea of what's involved on these rear quarter windows. Okay guys, so we got some glass laid out on the bench here, and on the right hand side is the new replacement set that I had acquired a few years back. Incorrect dimensions, although the green tint is fairly close to the original, not too bad there, but profile and dimensions are just not going to work for our car. Although they were advertised for 65 through 68, they definitely aren't. And we weren't able to work anything out with the vendor on these to get them replaced with something suitable. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep them for now, and I'll have a part sale later down the road. On the left-hand side here, this is a new replacement set that I just recently acquired from Mike Callahan in Ohio. Mike had run across these windows approximately 40 years ago. He picked up a parts car to do his restoration work. And this is something he's just hung on to for literally 40 years and has been in good safekeeping for that period of time. So we was able to work something out. Mike sent these to me. Even with old glass and new glass, you're going to have some issues you're going to have to work out. It's just not possible to get glass of that age that hasn't seen a little wear and tear on it. But you can get some of it worked out with cerium oxide powder and a polisher. I think best thing to do, let's go ahead and see exactly what that process is first. I did a little clip here on how to polish these out, and then I'll do my best to hold these up to a light and you can see the actual polished up condition of what we're going to be using. Okay, let's just take a quick look and see what I'm using here so we can get these windows polished up and back on our frame. So I'm using a 6-inch microfiber polishing pad with a red firm, so it looks like about a 1/4 inch backing on that. You're going to want a firm backing. Some dry cerium oxide powder. It's going to work really well. A squirt bottle with distilled water. A couple of nice clean microfiber rags. And this first window here, this one here was the worst of the two, although the condition was really, really nice. But all glass is going to have something in it. Even if it's new glass, you could have something in there that you need to get worked out, and this is going to be the best way to do it. So this one here took about 2 hours to get through it complete, where I'm real happy with it, and we can put that back in the car and feel real good about it. The one underneath there, I've done one process, both sides, just to basically see where I'm at. So we're going to put this fresh pad on here. We're going to go through the process. We're going to keep it in the shade, keep it cool, and keep it wet all the time. We're applying like a medium pressure, and we'll get it polished out. Let's go ahead and see how that works. Okay, so then looking at this piece here, you can see some of the residue left on the glass, and that is really, really etched in there. We can get that off 100% and shine back up to new condition. And any other little blemishes or anything we don't like, as long as we just stay with it, we should be able to work that area and get it out. All right, let's give it a try. Okay, so I'm using my body to keep the glass shaded and cool down, making sure it's clean before we get started. flipping it over and doing the back side. And then on our random orbital, we're using a 6, which is full speed. All right, let's clean it up, see what we got. So you can see it really not too bad to get these things polished back up and reusable. So any kind of used glass, it is possible to get things worked out and have them shined up, looking real good. The only thing you're not going to be able to get out is if you can get your fingernail into a scratch. If the scratch is so deep, there's not going to be any way you're going to be able to polish that out. You might be able to improve it, improve its appearance maybe 50% by just working it with the polisher. But if it's deep enough to get your fingernail in, then there's not much you're going to be able to do about it. Okay, let's take a look and see what the profile difference is between our original Sekurit glass and our overlay replacement glass here. You can see not quite working out the way it should. So buyer beware out there. There's no replacement glass that I know of on the aftermarket, and Porsche discontinued this quite some time ago. So if you're working on your rear quarter windows, the only way you're going to get there is with some originals and rework them. So first let's have a look at our new replacement glass that we can't use and see what that looks like in light. It looks pretty clear. A couple things here and there, but real minor. I think if you were looking at the car out in the bright sunlight, you wouldn't notice anything, but if you're looking at it under a microscope, you're probably going to find something. All right, let's get the other one and see what that looks like. And this is going to be our factory original Sekurit, freshly polished. You can see both sides there. I mean, virtually flawless. A couple things here and there, you know, not uncommon. They have a little something in there. Plus the advantage of going with our factory originals, you can find a set in really nice condition is you're going to be able to retain your window bug there. That logo is really what you want to have in there. Okay, well hopefully that shows something there for you. And then while we're looking at glass here, so let's just take a quick peek at our quarter windows here up front. So we got 4 pieces of original glass that'll be going back on the car. Front windshield was replaced with new aftermarket, rear window with new aftermarket, and also our side windows. Haven't installed those yet, so hopefully those will fit. But those will also be aftermarket. But we'll have 4 really nice pieces here with Sekurit logos in really nice condition, factory original green tint. And then moving on to our window frames here. So now we can have a close-up look and see exactly what the inside of one of these frames look like, all put together without the windows in there. So basically all you have is an L bracket top and bottom that receives some screws to hold the front piece onto the framework, and that's pretty much it. Real simple concept to put together. These flex tabs here, these are how they are installed into the car, and these are the culprits that cause all the problems in the aftermarket glass. So let's just say you jump on eBay, you want to get some glass, something looks real nice in a picture. What happens is when they pull these out of the car in the junkyards, they leave these tabs in place, and these things are really hard and razor sharp, and the second they throw them in a pile with the glass, it just cuts them to pieces, basically ruins them on the spot, and not much you can do with them once those things have had their way with it. So those are the culprit, creates all the problems with getting really nice original glass. Let's go ahead and take these apart and try and insert our glass. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try to retain our seal in place here, because I wrestled with these literally for hours trying to get those pressed in there. I'm just going to try and remove the front portion and see if we can slide our glass in that way. But in this case here, putting these windows together, glycerin and a nice warm day is going to be your friend. Let's just take a look at the difference now between the 2 different brackets that's used on these. You're going to have 2 different profiles and 2 different lengths. Also, your rubber seal that goes around your glass is going to have 2 notches in it. You're going to have a short notch and a long notch. That long notch is going to be for this bracket, which is the top of the window, and the short notch is going to be the bottom. So you got to make sure the orientation of this is correct on your window before you slide it on there. And we'll be using glycerin to slide that on there. All right, we got one corner in. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what needs to happen here to get this to work out. Then I'm going to put the camera aside so we don't have any accidents, and I'm just going to wrestle with it. But basically, this last one, it just doesn't want to draw up. All right, so you're going to need some kind of clamp or leverage somehow. No real good way to clamp this because of the shape. So best way I could figure out, taking a small screwdriver and getting it through one of these holes. Let's try this one here. Let's try the front one. Trying not to damage the threads because they're real fine, and just going to leverage it. See how that closes up? Well, I got some leverage on there. I'm going to wrestle with a small screwdriver and that little screw in there and try and get it. Let me do that and see if it works. Okay, so we got it. One trick that you will need to do is when you're torquing these screws down, because there's so much extreme pressure to get everything to close up here, do one, then the other, and then the other, and then the other. If one of these screws tries to take too much, you're going to strip that out. It's not going to pull up, and you're going to take this whole thing apart and replace those inner brackets. So real fine threads, real small screws, it will go as long as you alternate as you're drawing down. And then this seal just presses back in. Best to work the front edge on this one. It seems to pop in a little bit better. And all these seals are genuine Porsche. I think with this window here, I wouldn't even try anything aftermarket. The fit is just so tight. So let me roll through this other one. This one took about 1 hour. I don't know how long this one's going to take. Hopefully it goes a little bit easier. I'll get these cleaned up, and then we'll get them installed on the car. All right, so we're all cleaned up, ready to go here. So let's just take a quick look and see how we did before we take them outside and put them on. So the second window, about 2 hours to get through that one and get everything worked out. A little bit more difficult than our first one there. Seems like the problem we can have here is this inner seal here. If it's not orientated exactly where it needs to be, if it's off just the slightest bit in rotation, then what will happen is you're going to get some gathering or some kind of a buckle or wrinkle right down in this inner corner here, or also into the miters, in which case you'll be taking it apart several times, trying to get that massaged out and worked out. The glycerin, though, that's going to really help you out there with that, because you can sort of massage it around into position with that glycerin in there. Just kind of slithers into place. Let's flip these over and see what they look like on the back side. And looking at our original latches all re-chromed and put back together. Just an amazing feat of engineering from Porsche 50 years ago. Absolutely amazing. Okay, so let's just take a quick look and see how our window jamb finishes out here and sill, so we can get our windows squeezed into place here. So these flex tabs are going to squeeze right into here and press right into there. And the 2 bolts there, they're going to line up on this side here, and then we're going to run our bolts right through them, and that's what's going to hold them in. If they don't go in, probably a little bit of grease on there. It's a good idea, and then they should just slide right into place. Our windowsill here, this is real easy to put on. This was done quite some time ago. I'm just using a butyl tape and some speed nuts on the bottom side. Set that in place. And the butyl tape will actually take up some space between the body and the bottom side of our chrome profile. And then our upper bead molding, pretty much how that finishes out there. And then this piece of rubber trim here, best I can figure out the purpose of that is there is some free space between the back side of the chrome frame, which is going to sit about here, to our bead molding. So this would be hollow space in here. So if you had air coming in this direction, you could have some whistling or howling coming in there, and this extra piece of molding creates like an overlap condition with the other molding that's going to sit on top of it. So you get kind of a double lap joint there, which will help any kind of noise or whistling, also doubling down on a water seal. And then when all that's put into place, then we pinch our door seal in between, holds everything down nice and tight, and should work out pretty clean. Okay, let's get these guys put in and see what they look like. Alright, a little grease on the front of our tabs. Okay, and then from the inside here, let me just show you what's going on because it's really tight to work in here. Trying to set up a camera and some stubby screwdrivers. So this space back here, real tight to work in. I'm just using a stubby screwdriver to run those screws in. And then they also have like a 1/4-inch shim that goes behind these, white plastic shim. I've seen those on some cars. On some cars they don't have them. My car didn't come with it, so I'm not going to put them back on there, although I have a set. I could put them on if need be. And then looking up the front here, you can see how those tabs work out, and you can see that free space. I try to focus here, that free space that needs to be taken up with something, otherwise you get air and water coming in there. So that's how that works. So we just run the tabs through those holes and then run our screws in. So let me put those in there and then we'll take a look at her. Okay, so we got everything tied down. I think all the details worked out here. So about 2 hours just to get these guys installed. Real simple concept, but real difficult to do. One thing you're going to want to remember is this bottom screw here is just a little bit shorter in length than the other 3 that go in there. And the reason they did that is because the angle it comes out, you won't be able to get any tooling in there to tighten it down. So if you're wrestling with it, that's probably what it is. But that's how it's going to finish out on the inside. And then on our passenger side, we're opened up here. That's pretty much how that's going to work. And then let's take a look at this overlap here and see how that works. Now we got both pieces in place. You can see how that blocks that off in there. Without that, you'd have a hole right in there. Air could make its way through there and create quite a problem. And then our door seal will press back in there. You can see how tight that is now. Pretty much nothing's going to get through there. And then a close-up look and see how all our seals finish off on the outside. Real tight how everything fits together. Not much room for forgiveness on any of it. But it does fit, and that's all that counts. Okay guys, so we can strike one more off the list. I want to give out a really big thank you to Mike Callahan for helping us out with this glass. Just beautiful, beautiful pieces for our restoration project here. I'm just absolutely thrilled. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.